Welcome, everybody. We are here. We are ready to close out what has been an incredible Faceit Season 7. Not Masters, not Expert, not even Advanced. We're going to be actually going to the Open Division, excitedly covering the teams of No Otter and Dystopia. Of course, thank you so much to DYS and, of course, XYBA for really having this be available to us to cover today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not every day we get to see a broadcast of Open Division. It feels like for Faceit co-streamers like us, not always gets all the love that maybe it should, right? And I think that is a bit of travesty, right? So we do finally get a chance to take a look at what happens here in a division that maybe doesn't have the most light shone upon it. I for one am really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And as you mentioned again. Shout out to Dystopia and XIBA Productions for helping put this broadcast on. I did, do a little bit of looking around in the beforehand, and as you mentioned, we do have our two teams going to be competing. No Otter and Dystopia. Dystopia coming from the upper bracket, undefeated throughout playoffs. No Otter actually lost to them in 3-0 fashion, and so No Otter looking for revenge. Dystopia looking to cruise their way towards a championship.
They absolutely do. And speaking of our teams, they're ready, to go. Let's talk about the rosters coming in for tonight's EMEA Grand Finals of the Open Division. Of course, as I mentioned, Dystopia, here is your roster. Of course, a little bit of funky role swapping, but it is either way going to be Mascade and Ken on that DPS side of things, with Redfield leading the charge as the tank of Dystopia. Last but certainly not least, our backline consisting of Lampy and Redfield. Extremely excited to see what we have going on here, because of course some very special favorite characters. Double Zenyatta, there's a Junkrat in their spec, which I wouldn't be surprised if we even see Mascade pull that out at some point.
Yeah, Clone technology has advanced pretty far. Dystopia proud to be able to dominate where at all possible in both Dolly the Sheep and Overwatch. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out in the server. The other side of things, No Otter they're going to be shown to you now. It's going to be Arcane, Vtex, Noki, Izzy, and Yopez. Looking forward to seeing this play out. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Winston double flex is probably the most fun I ever have casting Overwatch. So they get an opportunity to pull that out today, and I will be one happy man.
Oh, no, for sure. Winston, especially in the throes of kind of everything being available right now. Zarya has been a very big contender right now. Ram, D.Va, we saw her earlier this morning if you were tuned in awake and, watching the pro players over in South Korea. We're seeing a lot of D.Va play, especially between Team Liquid and TM, right? So it was a lot of D.Va being played, and honestly, she's also a factor. So if you're going to play Winston, you got to be very wary about that potential matchup coming up on deck here for the Grand Finals. And speaking of Grand Finals, it's Grand Finals. It's grand. It's not even first to 2, not first to 3. It is first to 4, best of 7, up to 7 entire maps can be played today. Our first map is already locked and loaded as we go into the maps. We have Ilios. First things first, definitely something that I was expecting from one of our teams today.
I mean, we've seen Ilios be heavily played by basically everything that requires verticality. Hazard, Winston, D.Va. Obviously, as you mentioned, we saw TVNT prove he actually did have hands earlier on the D.Va, just absolutely omnipresent across the map. And might be something that either team could pull out at any moment, but we maybe do expect Otter to be starting on that Winston at least. I think Ilios is interesting. It's not a map I feel like we see a crazy amount in Faceit League at the moment. At least in EMEA, I feel like we've seen Nepal basically every time. But Ilios, much more dive-centric. Hitscan really struggles to find value, especially on maps like Well. If we look more towards Lighthouse with these longer sight lines, it's more of a balancing act, right? Where you can, put in an Ashe, a Sojourn, and just free shoot down. But equally, you can also just play like an Echo and fly around the high ground, set up for hits, and punish any sort of off-positioning.
No, for sure. And our bans are locked and loaded. One thing I like about the Faceit website is that they are doing bans immediately, going straight into it. Already seeing that D.Va, as we were talking about earlier, banned out from No Otter Way. Dystopia respond with a very understandable vendetta ban of their own as we now load into Ilios. Looks like it's just gonna be no D.Va, no vendetta. Lots of different variations can absolutely come about. That Winston you're talking about has a little bit more free range to be played here as well, Spec. So I think, especially as we load into one of the most diviest of the 3 sub maps, looking like we're gonna be looking at Lighthouse. Yeah, dive could absolutely be in play here without D.Va in tow.
I'm looking forward to seeing it materialize. It feels like a while since we've seen some proper Winston gameplay.
Yes.
You know, for a long period of time, that is not just like playing it for a map and seeing what happens, but we start seeing the Winston for Dystopia, not also away on the Wrecking Ball, at least in spawn. Generally, Winston plays harder for dives, not also going to be playing for extended shooting, so Noki, Vtex, Arcane, more than likely going to be looking for their own individual value, looking for displacements rather than to sync up on the same target. Dystopia, probably more looking for 5 orbs, discords, nades and sleeps to try and jump on with LDR and Ken.
I love how sensitive this backline is in Dystopia, but how high damage it can absolutely be with Lampy and I'm Redfield. Big fan of it. On the other side of the No Otter Way, they're playing something a little bit more attuned to what we've been seeing between week 1 and Grand Finals week, right? Of the playoff bracket and even the regular season. The ball, the Kiri, the Lucio, the dive is coming in, but on one side, LDR has no chance against Arcane Sojourn. The rail shot connecting effortlessly onto LDR. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up the rest of the team here, scouting out Ken, who's trying to drift away away from the engagement, resetting with the team here as the objective opens up for No Otter Way.
LDR doesn't get the bubble value he's necessarily looking for, and so when it gets booped down, doesn't have any sort of method of sustainability, hopes that there's enough healing from Lampy, but indeed there is not. No Otter Way, first cap and ball comp, so hard to shift off of it now.
Comes a roll through. We scout out the Winston, going over to the high ground of the Lighthouse. You can see a couple of the members from the Otter Way are trying to pinch this Winston in a very unfortunate situation, actually forcing the drop down towards the objective once again. And Loki going super low, has to use the Adaptive Shield just to regain a little bit of that stability back in the engagement, as we now can see this fight starting to really ramp up here. A very low Sojourn, able to stabilize by that back line of Jopez and Izzy. Dystopia are still trying to find a way to break in, find some sort of target, even finding someone as maybe a little bit slippery as the Sojourn without a rail shot might be, or without a slide might be enough, but with that beautiful Cassie Hinder nade onto the ball, finds the secondary fire as well. That's going to be an opener, even the finisher here for Dystopia. Losing only Ken, who has duplicate going to his next fight, so honestly, not too shabby. Even better, it's a very early flip.
I'm not quite sure that's the case, Mob. 53% is able to be accrued throughout this entire fight because not also we're able to get such a fast flip, and we're able to stay alive on the point for so long. So already halfway there, Dystopia that will be able to equalize that with just a couple fights, and Dupe, Nano, Primal all available. This hit could be brutal from him.
This could be. That's why I say this earlier, because we have ultimates to work with. And we're going to see the one ultimate come out first. Of course, the sound barrier comes through, and Arcane didn't even get a chance to react. That was so slick from Ken, dropping down the sticky bombs, getting the honing beam, and the rest of the fight just goes by the wayside of Dystopia. Losing out on Arcane and Vtex is not what No Otter Way wanted to experience. And guess what? Ultimates are still lined up for our defenders.
Arcane gets steamrolled, Austin Power style, and the defenders are getting pretty aggressive with it here. Lampy goes down early, but LDR getting so much value in the spawn, it doesn't matter at all. So an attempt at a back cap, but Dystopia, I mean, so much momentum on their side here.
They try going for the back cap, but it's all going to end up in some extended staggers against Arcane. Maybe even Vtex if they want to chase down the Genji. Not going to be able to, unfortunately, but we have the blade now locked and loaded. 3.5 check marks for Dystopia versus the 4 from No Otter Way.
Yeah, both teams, plenty of check marks. No Otter Way looking for a way in more than anything else. Once Noki finds an opportunity, however, they'll surely be investing heavily.
Ooh, Minefield comes in from the high ground. Poor old Ana. Lampy actually able to dive down away from the mines, so that high ground basically is uncontested, finally enough. And there's going to be a trade-off. Losing Vtex, who has the blade in hand, losing Ken, who had the duplicate in hand. The Lampy Nano onto the Winston. Oh, of course, it goes crazy. A classic double kill coming in from the Winston player from Dystopia, allowing ourselves to hold on to this high ground even better with ultimates to spare.
Arcane over to the Tracer, a touch obviously needed. Noki, you'd hope would get it. Izzy tries, but the mark's there from the cast.
It hurts, it hurts. The high noon is all about space making, and yeah, it's enough if you die during it, but you know what the best part about that fight was, Spec? The blade got 0 value from Vtex because of the high noon, because of the amount of damage being put onto that character. Dystopia losing out on O, but everyone else is starting to come back. Reinforcers are starting to re-engage into the fight here. Izzy goes in for a touch, reinforces or resets the overtime here, then comes the Tracer thereafter, but the ball, Noki, not able to even get a touch. A tentacle, a claw on the objective here, allowing Dystopia to find a first round comfortability and confidence in in Ilios.
Done that before for sure. No, I think here North away. Obviously, they get the first cap. They're able to bleed out plenty of time, and normally it is the team who gets the first cap who can convert with ult advantage, but unfortunately North away really struggling to find value out of the ults. You already mentioned, obviously, how the V6 blade found very little. Obviously, Noki invests the minefield in an attempt to kill Lampy, but Lampy kind of just walks forward, able to escape. Dystopia, I think, right now, finding a lot of success based on the fact that ults are connecting a little bit stronger. The nano boost of Lampy used to zone out, for example, Arcane's overclock. Very nice idea. No real adaptations other than Arcane back over to the Tracer, this time permanent-like. See if things will get any different here on Well.
Surprising that a backline like Anna's, and again, as I mentioned, very slow, very can be a little bit fragile, can be so powerful against something like the Ball, the Genji of all things, and Izzy has to fade away from Ken's Echo here. Great use of the Power Driver to kind of force Ken a little bit out, but then we re-emerge with the Sticky Bombs, which does allow the damage output to connect onto the Kiriko from no Otter away. Unfortunately, not going to have that Suits, not going to have Suicide, not going to have that comfortability to stay alive in this fight here as the point is opening up. There is a bit of a stall, but the Stickies cannot be deflected, Spec. So you see Vita just completely explode and ragdoll into the space.
Yeah. First cap this time in favor of Dystopia. We spoke about how important that would be for Northway to maybe try and get again. In fact, they don't. Doesn't fill me with confidence that Dystopia won't just try and run away with that momentum like they did in the upper final. Silver lining is going to be that you're pretty far from every check mark. Doesn't matter though if Arcane just gets sat down instantly. Just time off the back. Northway can't really do anything with no Tracer. There's nobody to follow up on your hits the same way. And so you basically just got to take what very little space you can, some scaling onto the actual lighthouse. Not a lot you can do with that.
Not Otter, because you're seeing VTEX try to, as you mentioned, they're setting up on that lighthouse, trying to find a cohesive dive, but nothing is really working, as you said, with having this Cassie putting Arcane in World of Hurt. Hinder does get used, not going to be able to find the hit onto Arcane, though, who is now just kind of walking in for looking for that bolt. Now, it does connect into something, but not going to find an actual elimination in the favor of no Otter way. But the entire entryway around the lighthouse has been barred useless with this minefield coming in from the side of Inoki, but the primal, excuse me, the nano onto LDR, yeah, we completely scale over the minefield, completely a non-issue. Now going over to the Kiriko, forcing out that swift step. Now what's the next option? Maybe Izzy on that Lucio, the Deadeye coming in the corner of the objective as we lose out on Izzy. That space, that's regaining the objective. That's even better for Dystopia. Losing out on Ken, not too shabby because Ken gets a post-ominous kill onto the Kiriko, and then you finish things off cleanly with a nice headshot right to V's face.
Yeah, just really struggling, unfortunately, for North away. Every time they're investing their ultimates, it's not a bad idea, but the execution is unfortunately just a little bit off. And so Dystopia able to sidestep their opponent's main firepower, force it into chaos fights where they thrive, or indeed find more value from their own check marks. This time, only the dupe and the primal, but those have been more than enough before.
Oh, Noki barely gets out of there, man. Barely gets out, but then the follow-up is so clean from the Cassidy. No Other way working with only the Kiriko rush, and even the Blade now only 2% away from being online here, but they're also working against the percentage here. They're at 90%. You have to force an overtime fight here. You have to use these 3 upcoming ultimates in a way that matters, and Noki just now comes back after being eliminated first, but after Noki comes back, then you are feeding the spawn room with, oh, just getting kill after kill, shutdown after shutdown. V goes in trying to dive with the Blade, and O is right there to shut him down, and it's almost a complete different team than we had seen on the first part of first round.
Yeah, we see a little bit of momentum initially come through for Otters. But unfortunately, after that, it's Dystopia all day, every day, not losing a fight since they get control of the objective. So after that first 53%, an effective 200-0 here. Now look at some of the sharp shooting here. I gotta say, Arcane was really struggling. Unfortunately, a couple times got sat down by that silver bullet. Like it's a great start for Northway, right? We get this early kill, we miss our jump onto LDR. This is perfect. But after that, unfortunately, momentum simply wasn't there. I don't know. But I think there's enough signs from Northway that I think they still can be competitive. They still can, you know, take a map. But obviously, it's not a great start for a game that you're trying to contest for a game that, in theory, you should be in the lead for, right? It being the higher seed, even coming from the lower bracket. I think No Otter Way might be slightly getting flashbacks from that upper final.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, and they didn't even do that bad either. They were doing absolutely fantastic going in to the first part of round 1, but once the Dystopia got really warmed up, they were rearing to go, and this does introduce our next map of the first to 4, best of 7, by the way. We have no Otter opting to remove ourselves from an objective-based map. No more control. Not even gonna go flashpoint or push. We're going straight to escort. Shambali Monastery is the name of the game here, and honestly, it's a very, very popular secondary option for a lot of teams, especially in the map pool of escort maps.
Shambali Monastery, an interesting one here, actually. I think it's a large departure from wanting to play the Wrecking Ball in terms of you don't do angle stuff here. Angle stuff doesn't quite feel like it clicks a lot of the time. And so what you see here much more often is playing, you know, frontline trading stuff. Orisa, Ramatra, obviously Domina when she ends up releasing in Faceit League Season 8. So those are the kind of picks that we kind of would be looking for, but obviously not going to materialize. Obviously, we already seen the Zen ban coming through from No Otter, recognizing that the double flex was greedy and that they didn't have the capability to punish it. And if they do play something indeed more frontline trading slower, then they're going to have even more issue with it. So trying to force both backlines onto a Lucio setup. One has to imagine, however, that Illari, a possibility, and the Genji ban from the other side of things. I mean, Genji's strong enough in basically any setup, right? I mean, you can brawl, you can poke, you can dive with him. And recognizing that Vtex is going to want to play it, they take it away.
Yeah, I mean, Vtex, when you... the threat of the blade is enough, honestly, to trigger the Transcendence, trigger any sort of cooldown from you. But we still have looking absolutely fantastic. Going to be actually sticking to the Cassidy as we move over to Dystopia's defensive phase. On the other way, looking like they're going to be walking out with Arcane first on Widowmaker, likely going to swap over to either Cassie Tracer or the Sojourn, right? On that note, I love the Sigma here from Noki. I think Sigma is so strong on Shambali, especially if you can get it on the defense.
Indeed. Obviously, spawn shots being sent out. Arcane on the Widowmaker. This time, the shot materialized. Oh, it does hit the headshot, actually, but the cast just enough HP to survive. That was kind of diabolical, actually, but can we thank your lucky stars? You're still standing after that. A Mercy boost would have been the end of you.
Sometimes you gotta believe in the hit out of the spawn room, man. You have to believe in it. Zen being out of it means the Widowmaker can take up that mantle, and 275 HP did save Owen at the end of the day, but now we can actually start getting to the nitty-gritty of the engagement here. The D.Va versus the Sigma, the matchup of all time between LDR and Noki. You can see the high ground trying to be walked on by the attackers, and you can see LDR is in a very unfortunate, very enclosed small space against the forces of a turret form Bastion and a Sigma. 9 times out of 10, Spectrum, you know, you and I both know very well that's usually not going to work out very well for someone like D.Va. So with that being said, the swap is very much made and understandable from LDR, mirroring the Sigma here.
Yeah, I mean, okay, LDR's just gone Doom.
Oh.
Interesting one. This does give you some opportunities, large punch opportunities. Could be huge to see. Doom's not a hero I've seen in a while, though, so we're going to be learning along as you, the viewer.
Well, the rock comes in, negates the block for a little bit there. Not going to be negating LDR entirely, though. What is going to be unfortunate is losing our Brigida in that Juno Brig backline. Arcane separated from the front line, however, means that LDR is going to be getting a very clean opening pick onto that Cassie. It's a very messy fight here. Lots of trade-offs, lots of back and forth, but it is going to be no other way. I think with a little bit more of that firepower. Yeah, Ken's coming in for the touch. Actually going to be committing the, whoa! Committing the duplicate here, getting the kill onto a double kill onto Noki and Hopez. Actually might have been the kicker, the savior of this defense from Dystopia. Big kudos to Ken. Also going to be using the Flux, why not? But that's the end of the duplicate and the end of a really good fight here for Dystopia.
I was so chaotic there, but Ken obviously able to come in the end. I wasn't a crazy fan of that. Generally, I don't like to see ults invested in numbers down scenarios, but if you're just going to hear the insta-rock absolutely clothesline your opposite number and, you know, go in for more, then I really can't complain. Bastional out from Vtex trying to force best case scenario a cleanse.
Oh no. Okay. Able to get it way fast enough, thankfully, from Redfield. Now here comes a kind of backline-esque Deadeye coming through here. Whoa, LDR swoops in like a bird trying to get rid of this Cassie. It did negate Arcane's attention for a second there. but the rest of the team of No Other Way were still honed in enough to actually get the cap at the, what, 2 meters that they need to cap it at. We're investing the ultimates here. We're investing the Meteor Strike in the meantime. Mind you, they have another 3.5 minutes to work with in this attack.
It's nice you find the holes here, but the enemy spawn is pretty close and starting on the low ground tricky. And so Dystopia have to pull up pretty fast. Also, they still have this cart positioning. They still got this Gravitic Flux, and so Dystopia, happy they got those kills. Need to make more with it though.
I'm gonna need some. The camera on Doomfist is making me a little bit queasy. We're going places I didn't know you could go that fast before. But look how quickly LDR is able to kind of force Nokia to back off and force them to just kind of respect the space that the defenders are trying to regain for themselves. Have the Sun online here now, ready for I'm Redfield. If we're gonna use it, depends. It's a whole nother story. But first, we're gonna actually allow Lampy to walk in with the orbital ray, forcing the sound barrier response from Izzy. And honestly, it's a really good one. It allows them to get a kill onto Lampy, forcing only Redfield and of course the pylon to do most of the healing output for the side of Dystopia. So why not put some extra firepower in there?
Ooh.
Bob committed in the middle of the engagement. Redfield hones in on Izzy, takes her to Lucio, whereas you have LDR forcing these guys around the coastline, and there's some staggers going in, some kills, especially in the name of Ken and LDR. Look at that beautiful way to make a loss of a teammate turn back into your favor.
Indeed. I mean, LDR's just sending it across the map right now. I think if fights start up pretty awkwardly for Dystopia, right? They try and use the Ray to engage. Obviously on Doom, you struggle to walk with Ray the same you would on a more static tank, and so that doesn't find too much. Eventually peters out, but they're just able to keep being high progressive with this Doom. Flux invested.
Oh,
nice catch.
There goes LDR as well. 2 for 2 trade-off. No Ash, no Doomfist. Couldn't even use the Meteor Strike, I think, in the Flux either. So, at the very least, there's a very quick recontest here, but what a fast fight, Spec.
I mean, Flux is a pretty powerful ultimate. If Doom gets caught in it, there's not a lot you can do but stand there and just kind of get exploded. Speaking of exploded, another attempt here with the artillery form this time. Also, no connections.
Little bit of something on the Ash, but what's even better is Ken gets a duplicate on the aforementioned Bastion, and what a double kill. Again, these very quick fights. Not really much to say besides great just flanking Bastion duplicate. Why not?
I mean, when No Other Way are on double flags, then a lot of the time they will just be leaving themselves open to very easy walks to this from Ken, from LDR to find individual value. McQuaid able to back off. Able to not be punished. That could have been an opening pick come over off the back of the Bastion nade. North away, looking for a Kitsune rush to open, very likely a Deadeye to extend.
Here comes a rush coming through. I love where it is, and look how separated poor Redfield is. Has to use the Captive Sun, actually forcing out the Rock of all things just from pure aura. And that actually results in a 3k combo piece for Dystopia. No Drink needed, no Biscuit either. No Other Way, only having 2 of their teammates trying their best to maybe stall the fight out, but they're unfortunately getting inadvertently staggered, even though Noki's trying to find a one-on-one one up against LDR. Not gonna get it. And again, a little bit of a long respawn timer for Noki to wait to hold.
20 seconds left to go. You've got to close a lot of distance, and you don't have any particularly fast characters. Who finds this touch? Who's actually going to get overtime started? Because once you actually get into the fight, right, you've got Flux, Beat, Deadeye. You've got nice tools. You've got 7 seconds to get there, though.
Oh, the headshot to Masquerade might actually be the kicker for No Other Way. Yeah, you lose Izzy in the meantime, but you've got to the point. That's all that matters. The Deadeye comes in, nicks Lampy's health bar almost to nothing. Able to stabilize a little bit with the adaptive shields, of course, with that Juno passive. But otherwise, Dystopia are moving the objective. Izzy's trying to get there as fast as he possibly can, and there's no touch to be seen. A free extra minute and a half has been reinstated for No Other Way, Spec, and they're going to get a couple of extra lickings in there. Why not?
I think they're lucky stars that they're able to do this without being punished too heavily. The Bastion, incredibly low HP. VTEX unable to escape on an absolute sliver of HP. McQuaid, obviously with the Bob now to defend with. The all cycles, the foot now. It's Dystopia the one with the momentum. Dystopia the one with the firepower, at least to be able to battle with. And with the timer getting lower and lower, they're the ones with control over how this fight breaks down.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful from Askey on that Ash. My goodness, a double whammy onto Arcane's head hurtbox. Then LDR gets just a good little punch onto VTEX of all people. Still 40 seconds to go. 3 ultimates versus 3 ultimates. I'm not coming 4 for No Otter Way. Otherwise, remember how impactful that Bob was, Spec. That could be the pick here for No Otter Way if they're not careful.
Indeed. This time, Ken less perfect with his stickies than what we've seen before. But still able to escape safely. Noki, Cleanse, and Gross both forced by LDR. Time getting low.
It is getting low. We have to use a rush here just to break open this choke area coming in from the side of No Other Way, and it actually results in a big kill, big ups for them. Again, the kunai onto LDR connects, finds elimination. LDR not in the spawn room with nothing to boot. Redfield barely able to stabilize against Noki. Mind you, has the Captive Sun now coming online right as they go down. Ken from the back comes in with a duplicate of the Cassidy. Not gonna find too much with it. A little bit too much free plays happening here for Dystopia. The Deadeye coming in from the side of Arcane. Izzy having used the sound barrier versus the Bob from Mascade. Is it gonna be enough though, as the Captain Sun from the spawn room does rain down terror on our attackers. Once Suzu does kind of render it completely moot, as now you see Redfield the only one to stall the objective.
And that is going to be it, surely. No chance for a touch from the remaining 2 defenders. No time bank, but at the end of the day, completion on Shambali Monastery has got to feel pretty fantastic. It's not something you see every day here. And now, obviously, it's going to have to be the effort, at the very least, from Dystopia if they want to bring this to 2-0. I don't know, this might be an uphill battle here. There's all that momentum, all that dominance, realistically, where we saw on Ilios. But once we move away from this raw dive stuff, it feels like No Otter Way have maybe a bit of a lead here. LDR and this Doomfist had its moments for sure. But the character isn't optimal here. I think we are seeing that in its fullest extent. Eventually, you're just going to get rocks, you're going to get flux, you're going to get run over. And if you're on a ram and a reset, you can block, you can fortify, you can stay alive. On Doom, just have to pray.
You really do. And we saw great work with Cardiofan, of course, in the Master Grand Finals of Faceit Season 7, working overtime on the character. Let's put it bluntly. And LDR doing much of the same, putting a lot of work on the character, not even playing them all that bad either. It's great Doom plays we've been seeing from LDR, but I think you're right. You know, with the composition Noki is playing, they feel a lot more comfortable than in the dive mirror we had previously seen on Ilios, right? So I think, especially now we have Noki on Sigma committing to the character, staying on defense. I was talking about it before. I love Sigma on defense, and there's a reason why he's played so pretty much almost 100%. Very similar to Sucker Royale. We've always played on defense here, but we're gonna see LDR going for a couple of swaps here, committing to Doomfist finally, and we're just speeding through the neutral, going over to the staircase. My goodness, they are trying to take this high ground.
Curious to see how this works out. It feels like the attack is going to feel a lot easier for the Doom. I have to be less consistent. Also, a much more empowered punch opportunities. Obviously, this is a fresh composition though, so still, no, so we're going to have to be adapting on the fly to it.
They will. You see a little bit of dive in, dive out from LDR. I love that. A little bit of soft, a little bit of hard dive, forcing out cooldowns like the Cassie roll, for example, from Arcane. Now here comes the kicker here. You have Ken on the off angle. You have LDR on the run on this angle behind us. Does go down to Arcane. Of course, a natural counter to that Doomfist is the hinder into Cassidy as a character. So even though you're trying to set things up, you're not only losing LDR, you're also slowly losing your Redfield. There goes a Brig out of the engagement. You have to wait, and Ken is all the way in over yonder, trying to get something super. We're in point B basically.
Ken is looking for the long range stick. He's able to get plenty of damage, but in terms of actual final blows, in terms of actual kill pressure, relatively low. Just feeding ult charge towards Izzy and Yopez right now. LDR back on the high ground. Decides not to go for a slam cycle. Instead, loses 150 HP and backs off for the moment.
Oh, that was slick. I'm sorry. I love seeing Duke movement because it's always so interesting from their perspective versus the overhead perspective. And even that was so cool from LDR. I think overstayed his welcome a little bit too long there. You had the entire forces of No Other Way, making sure you're not able to walk freely. And we're going to continue doing so. The rock whiffs onto Ken, of course. The Echo able to fly away to a little bit to safety above the high ground. Then drifts down towards ideally a certain death. And thankfully, the shield from Redfield does allow Ken to stay alive. Enough for LDR to come back into the fight. Duplicate does get committed onto Noki, and look at this. Now you have a Sigma and a Doofense working in tandem with one another here, Spectrion. And once again, Ken gets another little bit of a fight win here for the team here with that duplicate online.
Yeah, able just to keep on walking, able to obviously double the amount of tanks, therefore double the amount of value. Essentially, you're seeking out per LDR drops low, but not punished. That being said, Otter should still have a recontest. It might not be fantastic, they don't have all the setup that they want, but they can just rip a dead A or a Consumer Rush by the sideline essentially for free. LDR not getting all he wants from that slam up.
Here comes a rush, cascading from the high ground down to where the objective lays. The Hinder actually whips up to LDR, knowing it was expecting it to come. Actually fades away fast enough, then comes re-engages with the Meteor Strike. In the meantime, the Meteor Strike being online though, Noki gets a double kill for the side of No Other Way, alongside expecting and utilizing the Tattoo Blast. Just a little bit of extra hurt, a little bit of salt in that wound there for Dystopia to deal with.
Both teams essentially chuck the kitchen sink at each other, but they're also the ones who come out on top of the fight and with an extra check mark to boot. Unfortunately, the Doom comp really struggles with ultimates. The Meteor Strike is weak in of itself, and the character struggles to synergize with your background tools. And so in these heavy ult fights, we can often expect No Other Way to be the ones coming out on top. 45 seconds left to go. This is last fight territory from Dystopia, rather, but they do have some time to set up at the very least.
They certainly do. They have 40 seconds to do so. It could be a fight and a half. Could be only one fight territory here, depending on how they want to go and attack this objective. LDR trying to find something around the mechanic, the repair shop, as we do see the No Other Way responding according to the back. Actually going into the small room, now seeing the Mascade come around the back, going for a little bit of a pincer, then gets booped away and kind of shot at by all angles. The Deadeye is no worse for wear, as you do not want that from Dystopia. They don't want to deal with it. They unfortunately have to deal with it. They have to deal with Noki getting complete free reign over the rest of the team. 10 seconds left. LDR taken down by the silver bullet at the end of the day. 5 seconds left, Spec, and you and I both know this might just be a 1-to-1 score line. The touch comes from Tracer, but I don't think it's gonna be enough.
Yeah, no chance in a second. Ken goes down. There's no slam over the rooftops for LDR, and you are right. This is tied up 1-to-1. No Other Way already improving on their record from the previous match, having, I assume, put plenty of legwork into fixing up the previous mistakes. And because of that, now we've got a real game on our hands here. I confess I was a little bit worried after Ilios that we'd be seeing something, a bit of a stomp. Here in Shambali Monastery, then North were able to assert themselves pretty powerfully and present a real case for them to be our EMEA Open Grand Champions.
Well, I'll even go further with you. I thought this would be a 3-0, or excuse me, a 4-0, mind my words, on the first round of Shambali, and then No Other Way picked up where they were kind of slacking in the very beginning, and they got all the way to third point, and I was like, wait, I see something. Something can, in fact, happen here, and something has happened in the end of the day. They made it work. They were able to defend basically the entirety of first point with almost relative ease, shutting down any sort of dive, any sort of engagement conducted by LDR more often than not. And I do have to give them kudos for that at the very least. Great stuff, regardless from Dystopia. Great bombs, great meteor strikes, even better orbital rays. But today of all days, Arcane on Shambali Monastery and Noki on that Sigma. I think those two working in tandem with one another was really the kicker and what sent Dystopia away from trying to get that first point.
Yeah, I think Noki had a particularly fantastic performance there on the SIG. New York City going to be coming up next. And a very curious position to be in if you are Dystopia. New York City, obviously, a map you want to play. You know what your opponents want to play. But what your opponents were playing in the previous map has nothing to do with this, right? What are you banning from, like, SIG, Cass Bastion that might possibly come through? Well, we can see what it is here in New Junk City. Just be a second before we've got to you the next ban of the series. But, and then, if you're No Other Way, again, are you banning the Doomfist? Was that a problem for you, even? I've got so many questions and so few answers, but I will say, we're getting pretty creative here. We do have the bans, in fact. So, Kiriko from Dystopia. They want to continue with this Juno Brig, I guess. Again, a bit weird with the Doomfist, because you kind of struggle to play at the same tempo, but there's vision for it. But the Doomfist has also been banned out. Again, I don't think the Doomfist was the thing for Dystopia that made them threatening in that map. But Doom is also much stronger, in my opinion, on maps like this. You can take side angles, you can take side space, you can look for punches from more unexpected positions, so... both teams getting kind of creative with their vetoes, but I don't think Either one is wasted by any means whatsoever. We take again at these fresh comps as well. Not way, basically the same comp, this time with the Lucio. The Baptiste Yopez. Dystopia considers the Sig Mirror. LDR decides to go for the Diva instead.
Which, mind you, we haven't seen yet because she was banned map 1 and map 2. Do you really want to play, you know, Diva right into Shambhala? Usually you kind of see something else take up that mantle. Ideally that's Sigma, but we didn't see that from LDR. I'm glad to see her come out though this time, the Diva specifically from him. So as we see the teleport coming through, Ken might just go back over to the Echo. Would not be surprised whatsoever. Actually gonna go over to the Genji. I like it. I love the Echo, love the Genji even more, especially on New Junk City, on Flashpoint in general. Very close quarters, especially when you walk in, and this is the arena. This is where it all comes down, and it's all so close. So you're in each other's close quarters, whether you like it or not. With that being said, here comes the rotation around the main way. I think more people are a little bit more bunched up together with no Otter way, looking to rotate the Sigma hands and that Bastion turret form. And there goes the fight. Hands array expended early on. Vtex walking in versus the Genji deflect. Has to respect that a tiny bit here. The lamp also gets used early from Hopez just to make sure that our BAP does not go down early to really deflecting on the turret. Otherwise, fight has now slowed down to a little bit of a more of a snail's pace here. You can see the drop down from the Otterway now going to be mirrored by Dystopia here, Spectrion, and the Discord is on Noki as Redfield plays a very good angle. Losing Noki, losing Lampy though, a little bit of a trade-off. Depends on how the rest of the team of No Otterway can handle having no tank with them and no Baptiste. Looking like Dystopia might be able to get something here.
I'm not quite sure. I think No Otterway has taken this, but Renfield still always has a chance to connect these orbs of destruction. At the end of the day, first cap here for No Otterway, and Redfield able to escape tenuously. But hey, the Zen's still yet living, and I think they're just getting the kill onto Lampy. Hurts your sustainability so much. Obviously, it's great to take care of Noki, but you trade so many resources for it that LDR, no HP, can't be stable either. No Otterway able to slow play, take positioning, take positive cooldown trades. Redfield has to even make the rotation safely.
See how far that Discord orb was committed onto Arcane, and both Mascade and the Zenyatta were right there to shut it down. Wonderful stuff from the side of Dystopia. Not on the other side of things, No Otterway have to disengage. 46%, not all that too shabby coming in for the side of New Junk City, but these points go by super fast here, Spectrion. So you gotta be really careful with how you re-engage with these next 3 ultimates from both sides.
I mean, 2 mistakes and realistically that flashpoint's away from you. And so perfection demanded from both of these 2 teams, especially on this game mode. Could open with an artillery form, try and force the lamp, for example. But they decide they just want to go for the swing, take that position early. Oh, nice!
Oh, speaking of early kill onto the Baptiste. I mean, the window's not going to be available. The artillery fire actually does find an unfortunate trade-off that Dystopia has to now work around. We have Redfield, who does have Transcendence at the very least. You can see Arcane trying to lurk for that Zenyatta, trying to find Redfield. Does find it, but it's going to be the clutch reversal from Mascade to keep our Zen alive, keep this fight alive for Dystopia and this hold.
Bloody awkward there, but you get the opening pick onto Arcane, right? Connection of both a 5 orb and a cast headshot. Takes care of the enemy Cassidy. 4v5, not how you want to start that fight out. You're able to make it competitive, but such an opening disadvantage. Do you get a touch? No, you don't. Ooh. It's awkward. That's a bit of a mistake here, and they're actually going to pull a pause. Or in fact, not a pause. LDR going to disconnect. It's going to reset its ult charge as well. It's not ideal.
Oh, no. If it's both of them, I think it's a packet loss issue. I think it's a server issue. If it's 2 at the same time, it's always a little bit suspicious when that kind of stuff happens. Happens to me in my comp games a little more often than it really should, but hopefully they come back relatively easily. I know the queue times have been so bad to trying to get into the game as of late, especially with everyone right now playing their Grand Finals matches as we speak for Faceit Grand Finals. Besides Masters, of course, they finished theirs last weekend, whatever. But with that being said, hopefully they come back soon. I see LDR has ready to rejoin. But speaking of the match, though, you mentioned it very briefly. Yeah, they lost ult charge. They lost Diva Bomb. They've lost, I think they also lost Blade, right? From Kent. So those are big ultimates going into upcoming 4 from the side of Otters, right? So yeah, it works. You have to work around that. Transcendence is really your only saving grace, maybe. Yeah, and you're also playing a no-speed comp, and you've got split spawns, so it's going to be tricky. Really unfortunate for Dystopia. Unfortunately, feels like the game wants them to lose. See if they can claw back from, well,
extenuating circumstances to increase their lead as the mid-rotate fight begins to break out. Not away. Don't have to commit to this, and indeed won't. We'll try and take positioning on the point first.
I like it. I love being able to be on point first means that Hope is going to get even more value with this window upcoming if you want to use it. That space can be so good to expend. You can really see Dystopia playing around these barriers. Actually, first one coming out from Lampy, first and foremost, the Flux actually connects the lamp, makes sure that everyone stays alive, despite how big that Flux could have absolutely been. Izzy comes all the way around the bend, eliminates Ken in the meantime, while the rest of the front line are just mowing down the opposition. Noki and company are not safe from this newly rejoined D.Va.
Yeah, it's gonna feel good, right? You take this DC, you take this, huge disadvantage, you walk back in, and things go your way anyhow. Issue is, obviously, ult still not looking fantastic for you, but you'd hope that your positional advantage confirmed now is enough to overcome. No Otter way, very likely going to look for something like a beat engage, window, defense matrix, and kited.
Surely, right? I mean, just like that, they're able to actually flip the objective right under their noses off of just really the one window coming in from, of course, Hopez here. That being said, Sunbury is, of course, online. Could be a great option against a Deadeye, but even better, just kill one of the members immediately off rip. Arcane with the Hinder Nade finds one up onto Ken, who is, again, kind of on the still rearing from the loss of that ult charge of that Dragon Blade. So you're still working to build up that ult economy once more for Dystopia.
Indeed, Arcane considers, maybe flirts with a push into that side space, but recognizes it would be over dangerous. But even if the reward is great, the risk is too. Obviously, lead garnered a little while ago now, at least on bomb flats for No Otter, where you still have good tools. The beat and the Deadeye both used to burn more time, essentially. Not necessarily what you want to do, though, is Dystopia can post up plenty of check marks.
Love this from the side of VTEX, trying to aim for Ken once again, not gonna find him in the meantime. Now the fight is starting to really start blossoming. Here comes the turret form on the left side of the bomb flats, and it actually ends up with Ken rotating a little bit too far off to the left, veering into Arcane's sight lines. We also see the loss of VTEX in the meantime, so it's a 2-for-2 trade-off. We do see the Transcendence does get committed, and even more so, pushing and bullying No Other Way off of the objective. We do see a Soundberry get used, Spectrion, and the boop is amazing onto the Zenyatta, but I think I'm Red actually floated back in time. So Red actually stays alive. As much as I love that boop and the Soundbear from Izzy, just wasn't going to be enough, especially as he only got the Soundbear on themselves and onto his fellow support.
Yeah, Sound Barrier, a smidge too late to save Noki. Maybe that would have been enough to turn. Ripped it a second or so earlier. Not to be, however, walking up now. No, so last attempt, window early, going to make the rest of his team walk much trickier.
Oh, wow. They're calling it the world's furthest flux in the world. Does it get any value? Yeah, look how
we don't
far
touch.
HP it goes down, but we don't touch. We're too high in the sky, and now we've come back down to Earth. Unfortunate loss of the point here for No Other Way, but, 2-0 for Dystopia. They're looking so good right now.
No, also able to make both these flashpoints close, but at the crucial moment, they're always the ones it feels like making a maybe unprompted mistake. Obviously, you're in a rough position, but VTEX still doesn't have to be peeking the window. And under no circumstances, Noki has to be just not touching. Stuff like that, which we, expect better from. And so, now they square it once more. Ken dying first, exactly what they need.
LJ tries to go for a Mach 5 dive onto the back line there. It now finds themselves rocked, and he is now almost out of mech. There it is. Forced to use the D.Va bomb just to get a second on life. Thankfully, it does show out wonderfully. And in the meantime, even though Izzy didn't die to the bomb, it's actually going to be Redfield who does take care of the Lucio in the meantime, while, of course, his tank was trying to get back into this fight here. D.Va forced to hold DM against this turreting Bastion. Of course, it does go down for the count. So now it's a matter of what's the next option. Well, why not to use the Blade? Why not use the Transcendence for the Blade here, keeping up this team of the Dystopia alive even longer? Look at this. You give Ken so much free reign when you have infinite healing as you're blading and slicing and dicing the opposition.
Transcendence Blade is something you used to do in 2016, maybe 2017. It's quite cool almost to see it make a return in 2026, almost 10 years later, and Dystopia prove it still has some teeth. No Otter Way, 41% accrued, more a possibility, more required. Opening with this artillery form, failed to find final blows before Redfield. Low, not dead.
Not dead because we're just in the air the whole time. Avoiding the artillery configuration. Then you see Noki who has no one behind him. Even the trigger finger was not used. I mean, from Mascade, from the Deadeye, they actually just kind of left Noki to die to LDR instead. In the meantime, 70% of the objective in the favor of Dystopia. They're starting to push in and out between the objective and between the choke area. Bomb is online. We have window, but nothing else really versus the Deadeye from Arcane.
And again, we have to get a touch first and foremost. Also, I haven't always been perfect at that. Window might make it too hard.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Was that through the window from... I think it was. A kill onto Lampy and the Lamp, unfortunately. Both not even going to be in the fight anymore. 2 down for Dystopia. LDR does and is able to find the bomb, but is not able to find a remix. So, off of a really good combination from No Other Way, they flip the point 56% and counting.
And you have Beat, Flux, and again... another Bastion ultimate to defend the choke. You only need the one fight. This should, in theory, be your first flashpoint of the map, starting the reverse sweep. VTEX pre-fighted, though. Not what you want to see.
No, especially heavy on the pre-fight part. You don't want to lose anyone in that moment, especially not 100% to the Bastion configuration. I mean, that leads me to going to use it in the spawn, as you can see, coming all the way from over yonder. Sound Bayer comes in from Izzy, a redemption of the previous one, but he dies to the Diva Bomb of all things. VTEX into reversal, a big explosion, and there it is. Spec, as you predicted. Yeah, we're not going to get a touch. We're going to get the first point. That's the first thing you need to do for a reverse sweep of New Junk City, and Noki gets a little bit of a final elimination onto Mascade. Why not? Great stuff in No Other Way. Love the Bastion ult from over on yonder.
Absolute pandemonium in that fight. Dystopia gets so close, but unfortunately the superior ultimates of Otter are able to overpower, if only barely. And 1-2 scenario Otter now to figure out the fight in which they are again heavily disadvantaged. Forced back by LDR on the Diva, who's just walking at them right now.
It looks like Dystopia are on the point first. On the low ground here, leaving, I think, just Private Red or Ken on the low ground to kind of get that point while they overtake the high ground. And look at that. Love the rock of them to mitigate the pursuit of that backline from LDR. Then you get a very free DMEC into an elimination on the Baby Diva. Dystopia and company staying on the low ground, trying to find something in their favor. But then here comes another direct hit from Blizzard. VTEX out of the game, needs to reconnect.
Not great in a moment like this. That's got to be frustrating, at least at the beginning, right? If you are Dystopia, whilst it's not a perfect time, you're in the first flashpoint, there's still plenty of map left to play. When you're now Otters and you're trying to reverse sweep, you've already given up first cap. It's got to be infinitely worse, because again, your chances, you just see them plummeting further and further. So even if the fight is, in this case, going in their way, is he able to find a kill onto LDR, so you have that tank advantage at the least. So really awkward scenario to be in. It's unfortunate for both teams that the tech issues getting in the way.
No, it really is, you know, and the worst part is they just got a kill into LDR, so this is technically a 4v4 situation. Lampy has, like, this much HP left to his name, so this could come back, especially as, okay, looks like we are getting some more extra pauses from the side of No Other Way. Of course, understandably enough, right, trying to gain time for their Bastion at that moment to come back. In the meantime, they have only one check mark at the moment, maybe a half check mark with Arcane coming up on that Deadeye, so that could be something to look forward to if you are the side of No Other Way, especially if you're not able to get V back in the game in time. But again, even if that doesn't happen, right, for X amount of reasons, they are still in a 4v4 situation. They could flip it here, and they're going to aim to do so, but it all depends on, really, again, if these servers can kind of stop being overloaded by everyone and their mother playing the new season. I don't blame them. Everyone's coming back, man. Everyone's back for Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fun season. I've seen ridiculous amounts of players. Every time I open the game, my friends, it's just like 50 plus people being active, which is really cool to see. It's really amazing. But if it does also cause the server issues, then, you know, we've got to take some of the bad with the good. Say make a sacrifice for the health of the game, I guess. Still not ideal. But while we do have this downtime, I would like to ask the people at home, because I know I'm curious about this. I know we've maybe discussed this a little bit in our live chat. But what does LDR stand for?
Yes, please.
I'm torn between light dependent resistor or long distance relationship, and I can't tell which one I like more.
Well, I was always thinking long distance relationship. I don't know what a light dependent reactor, wherever that was. I don't know what that is. See, I'm not very. I'm North America. Let's just make that very clear. That in case that's any context for you guys.
You were engineers in North America.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm an artist. Like I just sit and paint all day. I'll do both. I'm a little paint sipper, if you will.
That's the worst things to do with your time. I would paint, but I'm terrible at it. I'm so bad.
Listen, man, the moment I graduated high school, I was like, art school? Y'all got math classes? Nah, bet. All right, we good. I had my last math class was pre-calc in senior year of high school. It has been a blessing since then. I have not had to touch math more difficult than division in like 6 years. It's so nice. So nice.
I quite like calculus. Good fun.
No. Well, it was virtual calculus. It was Zoom calculus. And I was like, what's a derivative? I don't know. What are we talking about?
I feel like as soon as you get into like as soon as you stop learning about calculus, anything past that is what I call like wizard maths, which is all just like made up like nonsense. They'll be talking to you about like the topology of like a toroid, and you have to look at them like that's like a real sentence.
This is y'all's language. English is not real. English is not a real language. Because what did you just say to me? Well, while we're blathering on about our respective oh, okay, I guess not. We're still a little bit not live yet. I thought they were back in, but I think they're getting V back into the game here. Otherwise, it has been a good series. I can't lie. This is just like in your boat. I haven't really been able to cover much of first of all, EMEA in general because of work. Second of all, Open tier. I've done a couple of NA Open. Has been always very entertaining. I've always loved these players. They don't always go with what's so what's it called, like prevalent in Masters and Expert. I'll even throw Advanced in there a little bit. They kind of just play what still works, but they're a lot more comfortable playing as. And I've always loved that about Open tier.
Yeah, I think having that individuality, it makes it really easy to distinguish teams. One of the conversations I've often had with other commentators and people around the scene is that one of the problems we have in Overwatch is that teams all we play the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're watching GOATs. How do you explain to the viewer how two different GOATs teams are the same, other than like sitting there and like absolutely nerding out about like tiny cooldown usage? Whereas in Open Division, it's much easier. We've got a D.Va team and a SIG team, and that's easier to communicate, and it gives us a lot more, at least visual diversity. So love to see that. I think it makes a really interesting change.
No, it really does. And yeah, you don't have to be like asking the viewer. Ask Ma and Eva what is the difference between two Ghost teams are. I can't tell you. You can explain to me. I'd be like, yep, don't know. Why did that work? I don't know why that didn't work. They looked like a good push to me. Why did they explode? I don't know, right? But you're right. When it comes to 5v5, when it comes to all the new changes, of course, I'm still even getting to learn the new passive systems with all the new sub roles and everything for the tanks and supports and DPS. It's all so new. It's also exciting. It's all just it's fresh, in our minds, but. It does look like we are waiting for an admin to help dictate what happened here with the match. So we're going to go to a very quick break, get you guys back in for the middle of New York City in a couple of minutes.
Okay, we're back. Fight still ongoing, but it's going to be wrapped up pretty quick. One has to imagine Redfield and Izzy both able to get their one, but as Zenyatta being close proximity to a Sigma normally ends up with that supports not long for this world. Yopez, a double kill. Cap here for no Otter way, able to re-establish themselves even with the disconnects on both sides of the lobby. This time obviously for no Otter way, able to get the lead pretty quick. They've got good ultimates. The window is going to be great for burning time, and the Flux is a great way to find final blows to secure eliminations. They have to be worried about this blade, though. They don't have the sound barrier. Ken might be able to rip through their chances of a reverse sweep.
They absolutely can, and I'm kind of glad that they were able to regain this point even after the loss of Vita's, because they had traded off LDR previously, right? So it worked out really well for these guys, and now they're over a 60% point in their favor. You see Noki drop down, the high ground being overtaken by this window, this much more advantageous window for Hopez. However, in the meantime, we do see the blade coming in, or hear the blade coming out, but oh, it does not go anywhere. What a lamp, what a shutdown from Arcane. As always, Masquerade gets one of course, his own. The beautiful snipe from Redfield onto Izzy, and just like that, it has all gone awry for no Otter Ray, as Dystopia find not only the flip, but also the team fight win.
Not the end of the world still in terms of your ult economy, but the stagger's not fantastic. You'll have a touch. Not going to be fantastic. If he might have to send it in a little bit, but if you open with the Flux, you should be able to find enough time in the fight to charge into the Deadlight, to charge into the B, and win on pure ultimate value. Still, it's going to be a tricky battle, one they desperately need to win.
Oh, they're going to come in with a very aggressive push here, coming in with Noki, walking in with the hands first, then comes a Flux onto poor old Masquerade.
What a lamp!
Ooh, what a lamp! What a transcendence! What a kill onto the Sigma! Dystopia find a flip, they find a way, and they find the win, securing themselves a 2-1 lead. Not quite match point. Remember, we are in first to 4 territory, not first to 3, so they have a little bit more kicking and punching to do.
Yeah, unfortunate. Couple of minor misplays there coming through from Otters. I mean, we walk a little bit too quickly to try and get the touch. Lucio just sends it in. Instead of playing for the slow fight that maybe we discussed, that sound barrier never has the chance to go off because we get punished so quickly. And of course, as well, having both the trans and the lamp means that there's nothing you could realistically get away with fluxing. Noki not able to find as much value as he wanted from that ultimate as well. But I gotta say, I felt like Redfield on this Zenyatta has been a force of nature on this map. Discord's obviously making that tank trade so much easier and getting 5 orbs and damage alike. I've been really impressed with what I'm seeing from a very non-standard pick.
I was going to say the same thing. Something you never see outside of Circuit Royale, and even more so, people will just kind of play Iyari Bap over Zen Bap anyway, right? So it's a pick that is working so well for Dystopia, and I love to see some Zen play either way in these officials, in these playoffs, in where it matters the most, right? So big kudos again to Redfield, again also getting to play the game for New Junk City, deservedly so. Even better is just the defensiveness from Dystopia, using their ultimates here. This was a lamp into Transcendence, into a kill of all time, though the roll to avoid the rock was even more impressive as well. But now we're going into the thick of things. Look at this, Runasapi selected by No Otter Way, and again, another map that I feel like is relatively popularized across both regions. All three, I think, even South America also, I believe, prefer to play Runasapi more often than not.
Yeah, Runasapi, I think, the most popular push map. And I'd be very surprised if anything else was even a particularly close second. Everybody wants to play it. It's got long sight lines, decent flanks to play around, no high grounds to need to be assailed. I just think it's good. Everybody enjoys it. You're going to see a lot of it. Will it work out for Northwest Way? They're going to be the question. Most of their success they found playing double flex stuff. Lucio, not necessary rather for push, but very much like to have in that kind of tier of play, right? Dystopia, when they have been, against Lucio comps, have been finding success for the most part. Obviously, we see an Echo Band come through from No Other Way. They've already experienced significant troubles from Ken before and want to have no stock of that today. No,
for sure. That's the thing about Runasapi. It's just you want to find something that works here. You can also find a first ban, of course, coming in with the Echo here. And as you mentioned, like, Ken was a little bit menace with the character earlier, as we saw a lot of drop down sticky bombs that came out of nowhere. You just eliminated immediately out of the fight before you even have a chance to flick your mouse to see where you're getting shot from. So with the Echo ban coming out, we're going to be waiting a little bit longer to get our secondary ban from Dystopia. They banned Vendetta, they ban Genji, they ban Kiriko. They're very favored towards banning some of the more oppressive characters, whether they're just oppressive in meta or oppressive in the matchup. Of course, the Genji and Kiriko, very self-explanatory. This could just come down to just like some sort of tank ban. Taking out Sigma might also be an option here because Noki has been so powerful on that character, even playing him on Sigma maps like New Donk City, for example. But looks like we are going to have our ban coming in sooner rather than later, and there it is. Lucio taken out of the fight. I think you actually predicted that pretty well, too.
Lucio ban, interesting here, actually. Obviously, we have been seeing Dystopia play some Juno, which gives you some speed utility without having to play the Lucio, and haven't been looking to play it too much themselves. I'm curious to see what the idea is from the Otters, right? Do you play the Juno, mirror the Juno, try and match the pace where possible, or do you just kind of ignore it? Keep playing like a Kiri Bap, like I believe they were in Shambali Monastery, and hope that the angles and superior numbers trade is enough to outvalue the position your opponents will be getting, basically just by dint of the hero choice. So that's the quandary they're going to have to decide on sooner rather than later. And what may well decide whether we go up 3-1 or tied and even 2-2 after Inasapi.
I feel like every EMEA match I've casted, whether it's for our co-streams, for you and I, for official broadcast, it feels like y'all always go down to the wire. Game 5s every single time, and more often than not, it's usually reverse sweeps that usually happen, or some sort of disadvantage into an advantaged team, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if this goes the same exact way with no Otter way. Like, as they get more comfortable, as they're able to play off of more objective-based maps like Push, like Escort, I feel like they can do even better, especially as we have Noki now on Ramatra. First time you've seen him on the stream here. Love to see the character either way.
Make sure you've seen the reverses coming through from Pep's Twisted Minds as of late. See if we get something similar coming through in our open division. So far, it's going to be VTech spotted out by Ken. Neither side decides to go for an engage. Ken's very passive on this tracer scaling. Finds the 1v1 with the Genji pretty scarifying, apparently, and so just going to ignore it fully.
Oh, we have the return of LDR Doomfist as well coming in here. Around the Mega Pack side, you're kind of playing on this little angle here as Noki tries to find an engage tool. The shield goes down then from the backline onto the backline of No Other Way. The Anthony from Lampy connects onto Jopez and onto V. No follow-up kill does come through from LDR. In fact, LDR is going to be the one that goes down to the aforementioned Kiriko from No Other Way, leaving these guys with no tank to boot. In fact, we might actually have to go for a full disengage. You can see Noki trying with the Hyper Ring to follow up on that Lucio alongside the rest of the team here, but there it is. You can see having 8 meters, 9 meters, 10 meters of point congestion here for No Other Way.
Getting some amount of distance, and it's going to only be extended for No Other Way. Their comp is much better just standing on the objective, and so if Dystopia aren't winning out these fights pretty cleanly, they're going to struggle to get distance. LDR attempts to secure a kill onto the Genji once more, but again, rebuff.
Comes a slide, the punch into the wall, forcing the Nemesis form block. Arcane in the meantime, a rail shot right onto Ken, leaving that flanker position, that backline, pretty relatively naked without Ken there, who has now gone over to Venture. Again, first time he's been seeing the character today in the series. Very much highly contested is the objective here, as it's continuously moving in the favor of No Other Way, deeper and deeper into enemy territory. Arcane gets slammed on and then followed up on by Redfield, coming following in another kill onto Izzy. So it's a double whammy in the favor of Dystopia, as they have now regained the point just before the checkpoint, and they reset everything back to neutral.
Of course, can get some distance of their own. No Other Way will have a chance to defend before lead flips towards their opposition. But this next fight is going to be pretty expensive. Nano Overclock available for Dystopia. No Other Way could look for something like a Kitsune Rush to open or Ray Blade later on in the fight. There's the Kitsu.
As you predicted, Kitsune Rush coming in, falling right through that restaurant into the main way. Arcane just completely lifted up in the air by the Venture and taken down for the count. Nano also committed onto a Doomfist. Two things you hate to see, truly, if you're the side of No Other Way. They do find a little bit of a reprieve in the kill of Lampy, but Noki with no cooldowns and no other way of getting out of the fight consistently, will be able to be shut down by both Ken and LDR. Now we overtake. We're at 33 meters. There are 7 whole minutes left, though. Not too bad for No Other Way.
Indeed. They are not going to be mad about how they're doing, but still they'd like to contest before that wood spawn comes through. They might not be able to do that, actually, as they kind of attempt to get on the sideline, battled back by LDR. And so forward spawns will be capped out. If I'm Dystopia, I might just walk out now. There's no real reason to keep on trying to push. The sidelines aren't good enough for you. That's exactly what they're doing, just disengaging, giving the space to Otter away and looking for a more engaging position to fight on.
Oh, they're going to use the Orbiter right here, and there goes Ken. First down. They're also going to see the resurgence of the Overclock and the Meteor Strike for LDR just to stabilize, to make sure that we stay in the fight, even though we are down one, that being Ken. But they're going to even up the score field for half a second. Is he taken down by LDR's Power Punch, and then again with Arcane back on that castle. Always a menace, takes care of the opposing Sojourn as well. Here comes the Hinder Nade. Here comes LDR. A little bit of in a sour spot here, and I think Hope actually might get disconnected. Was kind of running into a wall there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be confirmed. Unfortunately, the tech issues rear their ugly head again. This time it's the flex support who gets banished. Not what you'd love to see if you are no other way, because you're in, no other way rather, because you're in a position where if you Jopez was actually alive, you could get some shooting into the Doom's back with Discord. Just get heavily punished. You probably get that kill. Carts continues to move in your way. Instead, picked off for free. And that's only going to make any sort of comeback here for the Otter so much more tricky. Not great.
It's not looking good. It's not Blizzard. Your case is not being made right now, and it's looking a little bit just again, like I said, rearing its ugly head is the server issues constantly plaguing our players. We're all wired up. I know that for a fact. We all got a wire. Like we fiber internet, no problem. It's just the servers. It is what it is. Everyone, their mother is coming back. Now we have a secondary disconnect coming in from our favorite Zenyatta player, Redfield, who I want to say might have had ultimate or was very close to it as well. So a loss of 2 support ultimates is not going to be, you know, the best for either of our teams here. One has now reconnected. Thankfully, Hope has now waiting on that insane queue time to load even into the game here for Redfield, but otherwise, still 55 meters of progression in the favor of Dystopia, looking relatively solid. Upcoming is the Titanic Shock versus maybe 3 from our attackers, our red team. So this could, on paper, should be a good fight here for No Other Way.
I don't know, Titanic Shock always a powerful tool, especially into non-mobile backlines. However, with Izzy playing the Brigitte, very likely Johan's able to reposition with Swift Step and obviously save yourself with Cleanse. You're not going to find as much value into that as you would, for example, the Anna Zenyatta your own team's been playing pretty commonly. So that's of note. I know both teams got quite a bit of firepower here, but I do think it is still going to be a lead for No Otter Way, which is necessary for them given how unlucky that DC was and how they still have to make up currently about 22 meters.
Yeah, no, for sure. And with that being said, like we're still waiting on everything and everyone to come back. It was just so unfortunate. You can like literally see it happening. I can see like the red like triangle of death popping up and flashing your screen like this, and you're like, guys, like I'll be my comm cam, like guys, I might die, I might live. We'll see if I get blessed by the servers today. And you know, it's just like a little like pop up. It's like the circle of death in your computer. It's just like, okay, you might get connection, you might die. So it just kind of happens. It's unfortunate it's happening during such an important series for a lot of people. This is grand finals. This is also a qualifier, I believe, to get out of open to actually advance to advanced, right? So it's a lot on the board for these players. They want to rank up. That's the whole point of Faceit, is the ability to go through, rank up from open, even fast track into advanced if you're able to for the season 8 qualifiers. So that's it's a lot. It's a lot on the line for both these teams today.
Yeah, it seems like we've got everybody back in, so the action should finally be restarting. Apologies for all these tech issues, guys. We're trying our best. And LDR trying his best to secure this final blow. Noki put down. And even though it's No Otto Way with the ult advantage, then this actual fight not going in their favor. LDR's been unstoppable in this Doom. An absolute force of nature here. Now you're close to Nano Boost. You've got another Nano Cycle, very likely to invest onto your tank here. No Otto Way. No rally to rebuff it. They best hope they can instead take care of their opponents before they even have a chance to press the buttons.
I think Field is just not coming back. You see the silhouette of Zenyatta all the way in the regular area of the main area of the objective. Here, we're actually going to re-engage with a big nano onto LDR. A double whammy on poor old Hopez and Arcane, neither of which could even have Suzud or hindered in time, I think, to react to what a powerful use of that tool was. And look at that, we also garnered 20% towards another Meteor Strike. Redfield taken down early again, but really, not really the end of the world.
lead going to be increased pretty significantly. You only use the one check mark here, as you mentioned. You're able to build towards the Meteor Strike once more, which means LDR can play even more proactively, as well as have a free empowered punch. Arcane walks into some Ana shooting, decides that on that sideline, you'd rather not try the 6 shooter, but you might not have a chance to try much at all as forced back.
Comes Cam for the engagement, knows that we have the confidence to actually use the Tectonic Shock, actually finds a very low and anti-nated Noki in the meantime. Well, here comes a walk through, a little bit of a slow walk here. Now it does, in fact, find at least one poor soul. Ken flies into the airspace, right into the visage of the Deadeye, and we're looking for Redfield in the meantime, who's literally at 1 HP. There it is, nice pincer combination with no Otter Way, using that to their advantage, and even more so, Arcane getting a not 1 but a 2 kill on both of the supports from Dystopia's backline. 4 minutes is all that remains for our team to regain about 60 meters of progression to overtake Dystopia.
It's definitely doable, especially considering how you're so close to threatening forward spawns, so Dystopia might want to contest for that, and how we're only just seeing the respawn now for the Sojourn, so Dystopia maybe we'll have to just give up forward spawns. And if not, Noah's Way can use their Annihilation, can use their blade to zone the point so effectively.
Overclock forced out from Dystopia. First and foremost, repositioning over to the coastline. Noki finds the Ravenous Vortex onto Ken, and actually forces out the Annihilation, but I don't know that was entirely needed. Vita's actually going to be using the deflect sleep onto poor old Redfield, getting a free double kill on the Dragon Blade. So even though we did use the Annihilation in the meantime, forcing out a swap from Noki, it works out relatively well for Otter Way.
Yeah, Noki finally got an excuse to go back over to that Sigma, the rocked into the Doom. Just too impactful. As long as that Empower Punch not farmed too much, it basically guarantees that final block. And so, no, Otter Way, I do think making the right adaptations and making some good progress towards that comeback once more.
Oh, losing Arcane, though, to the rail shot from the side of Masquerade. Not what you want to see here. Whips a little bit on the dive from the Vendetta. We see the Nano in the meantime against the rally of the Doomfist. And look at this. Just constantly keeping this Doom in check is the big bashes with the rally in tow. Meaning that LDR didn't really get too much with the Nano, even though it was looking so good for him. In the meantime, a little bit of a separation between Izzy and the rest of the team here, as we do see the bot come back in the favor of Dystopia. As much it is to no Otter's Way's dismay. In the meantime, Deadeye is online though, so anything could always happen.
Yeah, of course. Bash twice, rock once, no eliminations found just yet for LDR Trans, for Redfield. Doesn't mind too much actually. The Concealer Rush now unmirrored.
I like it. Anthony did go onto Izzy, but there was no follow-up, meaning that Vitex got a very open and free kill onto Red, who, mind you, again, used the Transcendence early in that fight. We're going to see Meteor Strike coming through, see a very separate AV from the fight here. Actually finds the kill on, not on the floor, but on the actual barrier, the wall of all things, as V was trying to wall ride away from it, accidentally leading to his own death. The big bash, or the big whip shot does find Lampy. Long range attack, long range kill. The blade, not blade, excuse me, the Deadeye also, just to make sure we clear out the space. Might be a little bit too much. And another one, Redfield out once again at the last minute and 45 seconds.
We've got to find a way to fill these pauses. It's been more than a couple of them. Really unfortunate here. I mean, I guess here Redfield's dead anyway, and also just pop trans, so you're losing the least possible from a DC, but you'd rather just play the map, right? Really not too pleasant for anyone involved. So again, really unfortunate. We promise we are trying our best. Unfortunately, servers just aren't cooperating today, and so it's gonna be like this for a little while, and at least until Blizzard are able to sort it all out. I thought there was maintenance yesterday night, but
there was
maybe more needed.
There was one on yesterday and one Sunday night. You know, I remember I made sure I sent it to all the players, or Saturday night, excuse me, because, you know, you late queuers, you know, of course, people are love to queue late. So I was like, listen, this maintenance is happening twice those 2 days, and it's just like, it's still a problem. So at the very least, it looks like we are gonna have our player back in sooner rather than later. So we're gonna be unpaused and going right back into the fight here. Red is thankfully unscathed, maybe a little bit of mental distress, but otherwise relatively fine. If the minute, no, who is it this time? No, it's Izzy. Oh my days. Oh,
well, we were in game for like 6 seconds there.
Maybe no, not even 6 seconds. That had been like 2 seconds. Like we unpaused, transitioned, bang, another disconnect just happened. It's not real. This is not real. This is
No, actually, what happened is every time we want a break, we just we random number generate a digit, use that to select a player, and just DDoS them.
I'm sorry. I wanted a break at some point, but not like this. It's not what I wanted. I was like, yeah, I know Faces. You know, it's pretty automatic with the ban and everything. I know we're not really gonna get a break. So what's the vibe? Well, if we can find one, it'd be nice. And then, we've gotten like 4, 5, maybe 6 at this point. I will say they are joining back faster than usual, which I'm very glad about. So that also means that they get to keep their pauses per team and not waste it on, server issues that are out of their control. So hopefully we're back in spec for a little bit longer than 2 seconds.
Well, we've eclipsed that goal at the very least. Clock swinging. Looks for a punish. No one really gives a peek, but Arcane did anyway from a 5 orb.
Oh my goodness, 5-head alert. I'm sorry. Red with a beautiful opening pick here. LDR actually gonna be, taken down for the count. I think got a little bit overextended as you see Otter retreating to safety here. They're gonna reset in the neutral. They're gonna be able to take down this bot, maybe even take away the forward spawns from Dystopia, ideally. But otherwise, it's just a matter of Noki walking in against the opposition.
Indeed. Ken able to stall for some time, but the cart will eventually get to rolling once more. In the meanwhile, though, LDR is able to make his way back. Some more opportunities for punish to be found.
Look at this. LDR forced to hold block for so long. Cart is at a big contestation right now between both of these teams. Are now moving again for the side of no Otter Way. All they need to do is get another maybe 20 meters of progression, and they can overtake the opposite. They can overtake Dystopia in the meantime. Flux is online at any moment. Here comes Noki rendering it right now on that back line. And oh, there goes Hopez. There goes Arcane. Now LDR going to be a victim of the Flux. And we survive using the meter strike just to stabilize and look for this Brigida. Izzy, look behind you. Oh, nice. There it is. The kill, the elimination, the connection, leaving Noki all by himself. And the worst part is that we just got the blade in the spawn room.
Yeah, it feels like these meteor strikes have been finding a lot of value from LDR. This is the second time at least we've seen somebody get flattened by it. Touch found from Arcane. More going to be needed, and the tectonic shock so effective at zoning that second touch.
Oh, double whammy for Ken here. Both Arcane and Hopez trying to go for the touch. You can see the last one being the Kiriko, but it's just not going to be enough. Dystopia with a beautiful, beautiful use of or push on Runasapi, I will say, with some, some setbacks with the servers. It is what it is, ain't what it ain't. We do have them at match point here for sure as we move into map number 5 of the first 2-4.
Yeah, it's a bit of a frustrating way to lose a map. If you are no other way, there's a very little other way of describing it, unfortunately, because there were times where it looked like they had real momentum. But unfortunately, often just bled out by, DCs or indeed their opponents just taking heavy ult fights against them. Obviously, LDR, again, probably the standout player. Some of these Doom plays are just ridiculous value. I mean, look at this. Just walks in, 3 kills, essentially, all in his lonesome. But because of that, as you mentioned, now, tournament point in favor of Dystopia. No other way. Going to need to put 2 on in a row just to take us to a decider. That is an uphill battle, to say the least.
This was just a crazy mirror strike. What a read. That is what we call a read in the FGC. You just got read like a book, man. I know you're gonna go up the wall, avoiding this meteor strike. Not gonna happen this time. Love this map selection also from No Other Way, by the way, as we do go into map number 5 of possibly 7. There's still the chance of a small but still, I'll call it a reverse sweep here because of how many maps there are in the game, or in this series. Nepal, control coming up on deck here for No Other Way. I think that's honestly a relatively solid choice. They had a close Ilios for the most part, even though the scoreboard may say 2-0 on the map here for Dystopia. I think Nepal is going to be a good change of pace, especially if they if they make sure they don't get Sigma banned out, is also the big thing I do want to mention real quick. Speaking of bans, first one locked and loaded is Ana. I was going to say, Lampy has been doing a little too much on that Ana. Thank goodness we're going to take that out away from him.
Yeah, I think this is very fair. I think the nano boost especially is just a huge issue. You're losing basically every nano fight. So, really, really unfortunate that they won't be able to play it here. Dystopia, though, have been able to get around that before. And so, with a ban of their own, could still put themselves in a dominant fashion. Obviously, take a look at the bans already used. The Lucio, Kiri, Genji. Sig could still come out, if I'm not much mistaken.
Yeah.
And that may well be just the end of No Other Way straight up.
No, for sure. I do think that Doom can absolutely come back. Thankfully, I don't even think it's really worth going in for a Doom ban either way. So, he has great counters. I think Noki does a great job either way on the Sigma, getting these rocks on LDR whenever possible. But our next ban is locked and loaded. Dystopia opting to take away the Bastion. We did see a couple of times where Bastion was doing a little too much from V specifically, especially on New Junk City and Shambali as well. A couple of times there, kind of had just like a little bit of a chokehold versus the Omnic. So as we do see our bans, our map, and everything completely locked and loaded, let's get into Nepal. First things first. Love this point. Gonna be so good for that brawl if we're gonna see from No Other Way.
Shout out Elephant Side. It's probably the most fun calls in the game. You don't get to do that everywhere. So shout out the elephant. Let's take a look at the comps here. Dystopia, is the Rhine real? I would certainly like to see the Rhine be real, but I'm not quite sure about it. No Other Way, Sig, Genji, Cassidy, one of the more standard comps they've played today, but by no means common. I think I could find a lot of value. Very prickly to try and engage into. VTEX stacks and tank, finds punishes off of the hyperspheres, off of the rocks more than likely. Dystopia playing double flex with the Tracer. Ken with that Orb of Harmony can get a lot of value, take a lot of resources, but also has to find that value, else will be better served by a Vendetta, by a Venture, by a May.
No, for sure. And we do see LDR not going over to Sigma, not going to be going for Doomfist either. Actually going to be sticking with his guns on Ramatra, which we saw from Noki for a couple of seconds on Runasapi, then it got swapped back over to Sigma. LDR with a beautiful, just honing in focus onto Jopez, actually allowing a 3-piece to come in the favor of Dystopia, actually opening up this first point in their favor. They're going to start pushing up a little bit here, knowing that, Maske is kind of the GOAT on Sojourner, or whatever character he wants to play.
I mean, one of the benefits of the Sojourner instant cast is your significantly longer sightline, your longer effective range, right? And so, able to win the duel versus Arcane, who makes this swap. Noki as well swaps into something more resembling a mirror, still the different backlines. Still the Genji versus the Tracer, but No Other Way decided that they like their opponent's way of doing things. No Other Way, try to use Izzy to bait the rail. But not being invested just yet.
Not quite. Here comes the brawl. It does start enacting. Both are Matras in the Nemesis form, but one thing that you're going to have against No Other Way is the advantages of that Discord Orb, which Ram can't do anything about except fully disengage. It's not even worth using a Suzu for it. So as fast as that fight opened up, it's going to be ended as quickly as it started.
I mean, anytime No Other Way try and sweep to a frontline trade with Dystopia, then you're going to die. You're playing into Babzen with Lucio Kiri. You need to be looking for tempo fights. Snowkey, another adaptation. This time over to the Wrecking Ball, looking to the pressure onto the backline. I do like this. But you'd really love to see somebody who can follow up on these ball dives a little bit more. Arcane, here's my wish. Grants it with swap as the Tracer.
Looking for that Zenyatta. Yep, as I predicted, Redfield, the one to look for Noki for this cohesive dive between themselves and VTEX. Now, again, forcing out the recall with the the Discord Orb on the Tracer means that Ken's not gonna be in the fight for a little bit longer. Here as Arcane tries to re-engage, there it is, the headshot right onto the Tracer. Overclock comes in and connects onto V in the meantime, alongside the advantage of a Transcendence to keep you alive no matter what even happens. Noki rolling around, trying to regain a point advantage, but you're at 92%. You need to go for a touch. If not, you're gonna lose a point.
Indeed. You really need that touch, as you mentioned. Can you even get it? You can. Pulse Bump, obviously in Ken's pocket. No great targets for him, but already had that backline scaling. Arcane already dead.
Blade should be free here. There's no Transcendence. There's nothing to negate it. Actually results in a 3-piece coming in for No Other Way. This is the opening they were looking for. Now he's committed from LDR. However, it does make the continued rush be forced out from Hopez, and thankfully, we are going to see the Annihilation actually timer trickle down as Noki does disengage. But all Noki can do at this point as overtime starts to dwindle down faster and faster is disengage, re-engage, disengage, re-engage. And as I mentioned, it gets down to the wire, down to milliseconds of time to touch. And this time, Arcane just could not do it. 1 point away from the 4-1 victory of Grand Finals.
I mean, other than Shambali Monastery, it has felt relatively dominant for Dystopia, right? I mean, they take their loss, they lick their wounds, they lock in, and it's been pretty one-sided in their favor. Obviously, we saw it get relatively close from Runasapi. You could argue, how much the DCs were an issue, for each side there. When you look at it here, Redfield yet to die on the Zenyatta is still just hurling in the damage. 2k from those orbs of destruction. I mean, you compare it to Arcane, for example, 1 and 4, even less, without that benefit of the healing. What a difference right now between the momentum that each of these sides have. Kent goes for the TP. No Otter way decide their comp is fast enough as it is.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, you're right. They were much faster. They got the first kill on the board here. No Otter looking explosive already from the first fight of round 2 of Village. Otherwise, they're kind of wrapping around LDR, making sure that we fight from the back and make sure we avoid the defense matrix as long as humanly possible. Trying to body block the re-engage, the regroup from LDR in that small room. Thankfully, he's able to squeeze on by as the skinny diva that he is playing. And now the point's opening up for No Otter Way, forcing a completely new rotation from Dystopia.
It's getting really weird here. Obviously, No Other Way able to get first cap. No key. Stable. Dystopia's comp is much better at forcing the objectives. So if they just walk them, they should be able to get a cap eventually. Great stickies to the connection. Just going to keep Izzy honest. Ken has to be worried about the ball coming to 1v1 and actually that could be an awkward way for No Other Way to lose over the first pick.
There goes Lampy, killed by, well, really to a deflect kill onto himself, and the lamp is not even going to be there. We do see a flip at the very end of the day, however, 5% in favor of Dystopia, trying to garner even more to at least get a little bit of advantage over No Other Way. Noki going solo, there's a chance that is also committed to make sure we are able to keep this fight not only alive for ourselves, but also keep the point up in our favor. That hits twice from Redfield. What a masterclass in showcasing the Zenyatta, especially in such a disadvantageous composition that he's going into.
In theory, you should be dying on cooldown here, but due to a strong angle mark from Dystopia, some peel coming through from LDR, and Redfield just be able to hit what it feels like every orb of destruction, and then still, I believe, yet to die. It's an incredibly greedy pick. It's not something you always expect to see to work, but we're seeing the results here in real time. Noki gets some pressure on point, goes for a roll through, but loses a lot of HP and cooldowns for it. In value, generally, maybe not negative, but reduced, and Izzy being focused beam down, a great kill for Ken.
Unfortunate, right? Because Ken on this character is so strong, taking care of a fast character like Lucio. Very impressive. On the meantime, the trade-off in the favor of Otter Way, even though they did lose Izzy in the meantime and up to Noki as well, able to actually use a minefield. There's 3 people down for Dystopia. Of course, as you mentioned, Redfield is only having the first death just now, more than halfway through of the village checkpoint, even getting that elimination onto LDR even better. But that does kind of force a good 71% in favor of Dystopia as they re-engage with 4 ultimate. No Other Way had to make sure they stall this out a little bit here.
Indeed. Time, name of the game here. Gonna buy as much as possible. You can't quite trade with ults, but you've got the option to do something similar. You can't attack them as they walk out, so I'd expect them to give some space and try and use like overclock from the long sight line.
Comes to dive from LDR over to, or not even dive, though, just kind of repositioning on the high ground here. Kind of trying to push these guys out. We see a troll. We are chasing. We are chasing. Noku has 1 HP. Actually gets the mega pack behind the barricade on the opposite side of the high ground. You can see the overclock coming in from Arcane as well. Unfortunately, it does not really find too much with the rail shot either. Not gonna get too much thereafter. We're actually gonna see Masquerade with the Masquerade with the reversal. Both Sojourners getting at least 1 elimination in their favor. The flip does come in favor of Dystopia, however. So it comes down to No Other Way, making sure they don't go down not only in this fight, but also they need to find some way to shut down LDR. And there's the bomb. And can we get the kill onto the Baby Diva? We don't. A little bit of peeking here and there, but LDR actually able to stabilize and get another remech here. But they have 71% in favor of No Other Way. They can bring us to overtime if they want to.
Arcane sent to the stratosphere and eventually deleted. Vtex gets this 1. Redfield sent to the spawn room for what could be the first time ever. Vtex gets value with the blade. Izzy's beat allows them to stay alive on the objective yet longer, but the Kitsune rush and the duplicated kit still finding value. Mines now over the top. Izzy down to the railgun. Vtex feels like he can take solace into explosive protection. Into 99.99, as close as can reasonably be. Not away. Could well take here Village, but the window from Lampy is still scary.
I say, come on, give me round 3. That's what I want. I want round 3. I want more of our open division teams. And LDR finds a first gun to Izzy, first and foremost. Kind of doing a little bit of ankle breaking with the Tracer. Sideways blink, why not? Forces a slide away from the Arcane. In the meantime, from the high ground down to low ground, 2, 3 people dead. 2 from the side of No Other Way, 1 from Dystopia. Lampy not even going to be in the engagement. Noki needs to come in for the touch, regardless if we have mines or anything like that. And look at this. I'm Redfield survives a sliver of HP, and that's the only way they're going to touch. But Noki gets taken down for the count. It's a 2-0 victory of the Paul. Dystopia finds a 4-1 win, and they are your EMEA Open Grand Final championship or champions of Season 7 of Faceit. Redfield, unsurprisingly, gets another play of the game with this Zenyatta.
Yeah, I mean, get another look here, but just absolutely untouchable in this Zen. Invincible under the sun, I suppose you could call this team, because they barely dropped a map throughout the entirety of playoffs, yet to lose a series in the later stage of the competition. And against the Otter, even though they were able to give us a real run for our money here, then that was 7-1 in map score. Able to differentiate themselves incredibly wisely, and obviously while this victory is going to be, you know, feel a little bit less sweet perhaps because of the server issues, you really can't argue that they were won just because of they were today absolutely the stronger team.
No, for sure. Server issues aside, you know, they had shining moments from both sides. Dystopia, I think, was the most egregious of the disconnects, of course, but that could have, again, gone either way. And going into Nepal that time, we had seen the 2-0 victory from Dystopia all the way on Ilios, and to send them back over to another control point, which they were so comfortable playing on once again, especially knowing the ball composition, how it kind of worked away from No Other Way. Yeah, Dystopia was looking so good, so powerful. The Doomfist, an unexpected hero maker from LDR especially. I'm sure other open players knew about it, but for us, it's a very pleasant surprise and a good one at that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, those nano engages, especially on Runa side, people are absolutely brutal. Every time we saw that ultimate come through, it would be a multi-frag. VTEX, a couple nice plays, but unfortunately, not always quite enough. Northway had a great method of approaching the game. I love seeing Noki Ball Sig. They able to have a couple comps that they worked out, which were really effective, but unfortunately, just ran into some essentially counters, right? The Winston and the Diva kind of outvaluing the Wrecking Ball, and once it came down to the ground tank play, then they just kind of went Doom, just kept interrupting the kinetic grasp, disrupting and punishing. So Dystopia, I think, came into this game prepared and able to punish off the back of that preparation.
Yeah, you just saw a little bit of the score line here for all the 5 maps we were able to gather out and watch today. And as you can see, the score lines are they're very dominant. There's not really much, you know, round 3s and round 4s and there's not much of that. It's a lot of 2-0s, 0-3s, Shambali Monastery, for example. The closest, as you mentioned, was New Junk City, which they were able to get the 3-1 victory for Dystopia at the end of the day. But then it's I don't want to say one-sided, because there were No Other Way had a lot of shining moments, a lot of great plays. They were able to flip around the point multiple times for overtime fights, you know. But you know, Dystopia just kind of had that je ne sais quoi. They had something in the back pocket. They had the plays. They had the synergy to pull it out and get the win in the grand finals. EMEA champions, by the way, for Open Division. And that's not all. We have an interview lined up for you guys. We're going to get that in for you guys in a couple of minutes as we get one of the victors from Dystopia in here to talk with us. amazing 5-game series ending in a 4-1 victory for Dystopia, albeit Blizzard trying their best themselves to smite them from this victory. They take it either way over no Otter way, and I'm excited to introduce one of the biggest playmakers in that series, Ken, coming on the broadcast. Ken, I am so happy to have you here and to talk with us a little bit about the Open Division. You know, we were talking a little bit in the series how Spec and I really haven't been able to cover Open all that often, or the EMEA side of things in general from my side. So I would love to kind of get your insight on how the season went for you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, it started off quite scuffed actually. Like the first couple of weeks, we forfeit twice, and I mean you're only allowed 3 forfeits, so you know we were cutting it. No, actually 2. You get disqualified on 3, so we cut it close. But I mean, we started getting the wins in, and then made playoffs.
Once you make playoffs, you guys locked in, right? I don't believe you've dropped a series. That's
No.
all, right? You beat No Otter away in upper finals 3-0. Did you ever
No, 3-2,
particularly 3-2? My mistake. And do you ever feel like particularly challenged? Was that game much harder than this one?
Do you know-
Talk to me about the players in general.
Well, out of all the matches we've actually played, we've lost 1. Like obviously we forfeit 2, but so we lost 3 with 2 of them being forfeits, and then 1 was actually to SWS, and they frailed us. So obviously the pressure was on when we went to play them again, but you know we locked in, got the win.
Yeah, and then maybe more specifically about this game today, I want to ask, when you guys were picking your tank selection, was it based on the opponent's tank mostly, or were you based on map selection? Because it would seem like a lot of the time you were playing the Doom into the Sigma, and then you were playing more static stuff when you were playing into more like the Bull, like the Diva into the Bull, for example.
Yeah. Not even. Like LDR is just you know, monkey brains, so we put him on his one trick, you know. That's it really.
Sure.
He's yeah.
No, you're all good. No, that makes sense. It's sometimes really just that simple. Like, okay, he's monkey brain, just put him on there, call it a day, you know? I do want to quickly ask about, I guess I have 2 things to ask real quick. The server issues, very much the elephant in the room, right? And happened to a couple of your teammates, happened to a couple of teammates from the Otter Way. What were some of the quick ways? Because sometimes it can be so momentum dejecting. It can really just take away adrenaline, momentum, stuff like that. How are some ways that you guys, kind of just brought it back? Kind of Ruin Saga was kind of the most egregious of the 4 maps where the problem was constantly persisting. How did you guys bounce back from that?
Well, I mean, on the flashpoint, we're actually fight planning. We were like, oh, we're gonna trank, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Although it was a long pause, we tried to make a plan. Didn't go as planned because as soon as the pause resumed, kind of just got one tapped. But you know, we tried.
No, for sure. You know, that's all that matters. And I guess your final question before I let you go for the night is shout out. Who do you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
I want to give a shout to DB and Junk McQuaid. McQuaid Junk. Big shout out.
No, big shout to McQuaid. Absolutely phenomenal gameplay from him as well. Give the team a congrats from the prod crew if you can. Absolutely amazing series. 4-1 is something that pretty much a 4-0, pretty much a clean sweep if you ask me. So great stuff. Could not have gone any better for you guys. And we'll see you guys next season, hopefully, for Advance, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll see us there.
Yes. All right. Very happy to see you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the interview. And I'll let you go enjoy your grand final victory.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. That's it. Spec 4-1. 5 games. Clean. Some things here and there. Some Blizzard smiting us. Acts of Blizzard, if you will. So well, we've come out relatively unscathed at the end of the day.
Indeed we have, yeah. I think Dystopia were the firm favourites coming into this. Everyone I spoke to said that they were probably the ones in the driver's seat, and we saw that today in the server, even if the servers were, you know, a little bit smoky today, maybe more than we'd like. But that's more or less everything we got to today. Again, humongous thanks to Dystopia for sponsoring this broadcast, XYBA for putting on at all. Without those two, then none of this would be possible, and you'd be lucky to have probably a team stream for one of these. But obviously we get this lovely observe, produce stream, and if you prefer, you can listen to us as well. Obviously, thanks so much, Montenegro, for going on with me once again. Always a great time to have you, my man. But I don't think we've got much more to mention. So again, you can follow us on Twitter, Montenegro over there.
Yes.
There, yeah. And Spectre on here.
Over
there we go. If you want to see more of what we're up to, obviously X5 Productions and Dystopia, you can follow it as well. But from all of us here at the broadcasting, we would like to wish you adieu.